What's up YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristen and I'm an author, and today I'm going to be talking about which of my book boyfriends that I wrote that I would date. It's always kind of funny listening to my readers debate about which of my book boyfriends are their favorites. I think because there is no right answer. There's definitely a wrong answer, but there is no right answer. And so as somebody who is unfortunately often exposed to the disaster that is the dating apps, not only here in New York City, but just, everywhere, I'm going to be talking you guys through what I think each of my male main characters' dating profiles would look like, and then if I would swipe left or right on them. And we're going to go in publication order with this. So technically first up would be Ethan from the Remember Me series. Now I think Ethan's profile would definitely show how much money he has. He's definitely a finance bro. He works in finance, although Mia never really figures out what exactly he does, but he also has a really nice penthouse apartment. Okay, so he's definitely showing that off. You'll see him in like three-piece suits kind of thing, probably some like dimly lit photos of him in like really nice restaurants. So at first glance I'm gonna be like, oh, this guy is a finance bro, so that's gonna give me pause. I'm not gonna immediately swipe right on him. I'm not really into the whole finance bro thing, but it's also like, you got to give everybody a chance. So I would be reading through his profile and he would probably say something along the lines of like, he's looking for a +1 to join him on all of the work outings he has to go on. I don't know if he would mention that he likes treating his woman to like nice things, like that's his love language, is definitely gifts and showering his partner in gifts, which is not one of my love languages, but it's also not something I'm gonna say no to, okay? I think he's also gonna mention that even though he works a lot, he does like to spend an evening in and just watch movies and cuddle up with like wine and pizza and that sort of thing. So I think that's what would probably draw me in with him, is the fact that he is more of a homebody even though he works a lot, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, sometimes we need space from our significant others, and since I'm somebody who works from home, I would probably prefer to be matched up with somebody who works outside of the home. This is me future pacing for when we are living together, but that would work really well with my schedule, so we would have space apart from one another. And then I think he'd also mention that he really values quality time and being with somebody that he can talk to, and I love to yap. So I think that would also be something that would mesh really well with my personality. And once you get to know him in the books, you do realize that like he does eventually like want to settle down and have kids and everything like that. And so I think we would be a good match, and if I saw him on a dating app, I'm probably swiping right on Ethan. Which brings us to our next book boyfriend, Jake, also from the Remember Me series. Jake. The funny thing about Jake is that I think I would initially be attracted to him. He would take the average like bro selfie and he would have a lot of pictures with like friend groups and things like that. Me trying not to spoil anything about what happens in the books, but I do think he would have a lot of photos of him like going out with his friends and having like a lot of pictures with alcohol in them, which I'm not necessarily into. He is also from a small town, so I do think that he might have a photo of him holding up a dead fish. I'm just gonna say it. I think Jake is that kind of person, so that would be a major turnoff. That's usually right when I would swipe left on him, but I think his bio would say something about how like he's a bit of a hometown hero, like he has a really big friend group from home, and how he's definitely more of a homebody, but he does like to go out. Like his Friday night adventure is going out to the bar around the street from his house. He'd probably also have some photos with him and his family, and it would have one of those like lame little captions with it that's like, as seen on my mom's fridge or something like that. Like I would definitely just get the vibe from Jake that like he has never really left his hometown before, hasn't really gone out and like experienced the world too much. And if you pair that with the fact that he's probably always like spending his Friday nights drinking with the boys and like being rowdy and things like that, that's just like definitely not my type. But if you also see where he ends up going in the series, well then it's a canon event for most young women, but for me, I've already been there, I've done that, so I am definitely swiping left on Jake. So in publication date order, we have Eli next. So we're jumping out of the Remember Me series and we're coming into If I'm Being Honest. Now, Eli, out of everybody on this list, is definitely my physical type. I don't know if you guys know this, I did sort of base him on a little somebody named Harry Styles. So he's got the like floppy brown hair, he's got bright green eyes, and he's got tattoos. So as soon as I see his profile, I'm definitely gonna be like, ooh, he's for sure gonna have a picture of him with his guitar, which is going to melt my heart. Like, absolutely, I'm gonna be like, oh, he can play the guitar? Can he sing too? That will have me weak in these old knees for sure. I think he's also going to have a photo of him at the bookstore somewhere, whether that's like him bent over the counter reading or him just like in the stack, something like that. Very artsy looking. Obviously that's something we could talk about, so I'm definitely going to be attracted to that. And I think he's just going to mention that he's a little bit more introverted, so he's looking for somebody who can kind of like help bring him out of his shell. His typical Friday night is going to be really relaxed and low-key, like hanging out with friends over at the apartment or just like strolling around Boston trying to find like fun, free things to do. I do imagine that like most of his profile is going to be like very artsy feeling, and I don't know what to say. I'm definitely attracted to the artist type, especially the like brooding artist type, which is Eli to a T. So I personally, I would be like, oh, well, we're probably gonna be a really good match. I wonder if he would also have a picture of him and his little sister, and then he would be the kind of guy that's like, the girl in the photo is my sister. Like, he's one of those people that's like, it's not my kid, it's my sister. Or I think he might just like have the photo up there and then like somewhere in his bio it would be like, doesn't have kids but like eventually wants to have kids. He would want to clarify like, this is my kid sister. I know there's a huge age gap between them, but it's not my kid. For sure. For sure, I'm swiping right on Eli. I think he is definitely my type, and if I'm going for like the artsy broody kind of trope, we're going with Eli. I think I might have skipped over Sam, and that's because in my head I was like, oh, Sam didn't get his own book until just this year, but technically I started writing Sam in Losing You. So, but we really don't get to see like his full personality until his book Somewhere in Between 50 Shades of Sam. And that's really what I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about his dating profile. I think for sure, first of all, Sam is gonna be on Tinder. So I don't even know if I would even end up seeing him. I don't use Tinder. I'm only really on like Hinge and Bumble, but maybe like he uses all of the dating apps. I think initially I would be attracted to him right away. I'd be like, oh, this guy is very good looking. Let me scroll through his profile and his picture. I do think immediately he would advertise somewhere that he's not looking for a long-term relationship. Either it's in the bio or it would be like in his dating preferences. Like, he would just make it known straight off the bat that he is not looking for anything serious. He is definitely here just for a good time and to meet people. And so for me, I'd be like, ooh, this is a red flag. I think also somewhere on his profile he would mention that he's a big Swiftie and he's really into Taylor Swift, and I would love that. I would be like, oh yeah, me too, like that's something we could bond over. But he would also have a lot of photos of him like out and about in the city, and whether that's like in a bar or in a club, like it would just be known to me that like that's how he spends his time, is like he's going out and he's drinking, or he's just like hanging out in the like nightlife kind of area. I think he'd also have some like artsy photos of him like eating pizza on like a rooftop. Like, I feel like Sam would be very into the aesthetics of his profile, which I think I'd be like, oh wow, like again, I'm attracted to this guy for sure. But I think just because he would mention that he's not interested in any sort of long-term commitment and that he wants to keep things like open, I would swipe left. I know so many people are gonna be like, what? But I've been there, done that. If you had asked me in my early 20s, I probably would have said, hell yeah, Sam is like my type. But no, where Kristen is now in her 30s, I don't need that. I'm not looking to be a part of that. We're leaving the kind of fuckboy trope back in our 20s. Sam and I would be great friends for sure. If I stumbled upon him in a bar, we would strike up a really good conversation and we would be the best of friends, but we're not dating. No. I'm swiping left on him. Then we have Mr. Collin Edwards. And again, I don't think I would stumble upon Collin on a dating app. I think he would be on Raya, which I have never been invited to join. In the like 5 years that I've been waiting to get off the wait list, I have never been invited to Raya. But let's live in a world where I am like just as well known as Mia is, and I do end up seeing Collin on a dating app. First of all, he's probably my celebrity crush. Like, given who I based him off of, he's definitely my celebrity crush. So I think at first I would be like, is this real? Is this actually who I think it is? And as I was scrolling through his profile, I'd be like, oh, I think this is actually him. And so I think I would have to gather the girlies together, and we would have to look at his profile together, and they would have to talk me through not being so scared to swipe right on him, because he would mention like, oh yeah, I am that guy from these movies. Obviously he would have some sort of like red carpet photo so that you also believe he's that guy, but I think he'd have like a lot of like selfies of him doing nothing. So like either like laying on the couch with his dog, or like out at dinner with his family. Like it would be a lot of like those really awkward selfies where you're like, okay, do you have any other photos? But I do think Collin is the type of person that just likes remembering a moment, and so that's why he has a lot of those on his camera. I think also he would mention that he's in a place in his life where he is looking to settle down, and so he would say like wants to get married, wants to have kids, things like that. I think he would also mention somewhere on his profile that he really respects good communication skills, and like he wants somebody who has either like been in therapy or is open to therapy, something like that. And all of those would be green flashing flags for me. So I think that, paired with the fact that he would in this world be my celebrity crush, I'm gonna swipe right on him. But like I said, I would have to have my friends talk me through it, because I personally would try to talk myself out of it. I would be like, there's no way we're gonna match. This is not real. This has to be a catfish. And the girlies would have to come in and be like, Kristen, swipe right. So eventually I would swipe right. And then last but not least, we have Mr. Tanner from the patron saint of Holy Sinners. And I think my answer on this is going to shock a lot of my readers. And I think we just have to remember that this is based on my dating preferences and what I'm looking for currently. But first and foremost, Tanner is a single dad. And so I think for me, where I'm at right now, I would take that into consideration, and that would hold a lot of weight for me. I would have to really want to be with this person in order to even like engage with them, because I know how important it is to like take the child into consideration too. So immediately he would have on his profile, first of all, it's probably him and his daughter as his profile picture, and he probably has like some little like heart sticker over her face so that you can't actually see her face. But then his bio is gonna say like single dad, and I immediately would be like, okay, I have to look at this differently than I was looking at everybody else, because he has a child involved. Then he would also mention that he's an entrepreneur and he owns his own business. And while I think that could be a green flag, sometimes for me, I'm like, what does that mean? Like, be a little bit more specific. What does that actually mean? I think a lot of men my age sometimes say entrepreneur, and it just means that they have no job currently. Obviously, no, Tanner has a job, but for me, I'd be like, excuse me, what does this mean? I think he would have some sort of picture of him working on the construction and rebuilding of a home, and he would say like, this is what I do for a living, and I'd be like, oh, okay, he's a carpenter of some sort, I don't really know. But he would also mention that he lives in the small town of Stowe, Vermont, and that because of his daughter, he's not looking to move, and so he would need somebody who also wants to be in Stowe. And I don't know if you guys know this about me, I live in one of the biggest cities in the world, and I'm not quite interested in moving to a small town, at least not yet. I don't know. I kind of see myself being here forever, so having to make the jump to like a small town where I know nobody, I don't know if I would do that. This is not to say that like I'm not attracted to Tanner. This is not to say that in the books I think he's one of the most sensitive, kind, caring male main characters I've ever written. I think he is all of those things, and I still think we would not be a good match with where I'm at currently in my life. So I would swipe left on Tanner. Oh! Nobody kill me. Nobody kill me. Don't come for me. I love him so much, and if you're gonna swipe right on him, I love that for you, but your girl's just not ready to be anybody's stepmom right now. Just not right now. Maybe in like 5 to 10 years I would change my mind about that, but currently It's not gonna work for me. So that's it. I think that's all of my male main characters for now. So based on their dating profiles, who are you swiping right on, and who do you think you would actually end up with? I would hope that I'm gonna end up with Collin, but something tells me that I might end up with more of an Eli. And either way, I'm okay with that. Okay, I love you guys so much. Bye.